Hello everyone, this is Umashankar Ratnala. In this session, we are going to discuss about exceptions and scope activity in Oracle Integration Cloud. So before getting to the actual concept, first we need to understand what is the exceptions, right? So when you write any PLSQL code, Java code, so in your programming language, you can capture the exceptions, right? Whenever any runtime errors occurs, you have to capture that exceptions and also you can rectify the exceptions after execution, right? So in the OIC also we have a mechanism where we can capture the exceptions. So if you have experience in Oracle EBS projects or Java projects, so you can understand the exception concepts. So for example, I am going to show you some PLSQL black, right? So if you are working in any PLSQL project, Oracle EBS project, so for each and every validation we can put that logic in a begin end statement, right? You can write a SQL query, right? So your SQL query doesn't returns any data, so you will put a some exception. When no data found, you are written a error message, right? In case of when others, you are putting a final error message. So you are putting this language in between begin and end. So you are writing a logic within the black. This is the scope level, right? So we can call it as a scope level. So similarly, you can write the in the scope level, you can write the n number of child actions, right? You can write the n number of child actions, right? Each and every black, each and every child action, you can mention the exceptions, right? So sometimes what is going to happen, so whenever you forget to mention any exception here in your scope level, in your black level, so it will catch the same error at the global fault level, right? So this is the final exception. It is called as a global fault exception. So it is a super catch black, right? So whenever, so any errors, unhandled errors at the scope level will be bubbled up to global fault handlers. Okay, if you forget to catch the exceptions at the scope level, it will capture at the global fault level, right? Global fault is nothing but the super catch black. Okay, this is about in PLSQL programming language. Let's see how this functionality works in OIC integration. So we can raise the errors at two levels in OIC. First one is the global level fault handler and second one is the default fault handler. So default fault handler type errors always available at the scope level. Alright. So let me log into the OIC application. We can see what exactly global level fault handler and default level fault handler. Okay. I just connect to the voice application. So I'm going to create a basic integration so that I can explain both type of error types in OIC. So in this integration, what we can do, we have a request payload with two numbers and number one and number two, and response we are going to get the result. For that, what we can do, we can use the divide function. We can do the number one by number two, right? So basically, so when you're dividing the any number with 0, so you are going to get unknown number, right? It's null value. You are going to get the unknown value or null value. So how to handle these kind of errors, we can see, right? So let me create an integration. So in order to create an integration, click on integration. So click on create. So I'm going to configure both request and response payloads. So I'm going to select the app driven orchestration, select it, and give me some meaningful name, batch 01 divisor, divide integration. Okay, click on create. Let me make it horizontal. Okay, so now we are going to configure our REST connection. So my connection name is, let me give some meaningful connection name, batch 01 REST connection. This is already created. Okay, so it's a divide function. Click on next. Okay, endpoint is the divide. You can give division. I'm going to select the post verb. We are going to configure both request and response payload. I have selected both request and response payload. Click on next. Click on JSON sample, inline, click on request. So we are configuring number 1, number 2. Click on OK. Put comma here. Click next. Again select JSON sample, configure or response payload. Okay. Click OK. Okay, done. So we have configured. So we have configured the REST connection. By default, you can see the mapper. Okay. The moment you can configure the REST connection, you can see the global fault. Alright. So in this example, so what we can do, just we can perform the calculation and we can see the response. How we are going to get the error response. So this is the global fault handler. Right. So this type of errors available at the overall integration flow, right, which act as a super catch black. This is the super catch black, right? So basically we can perform some activities like notifying the errors to the business, right, by using the super catch black, global fault black. So we can notify the errors to the business, right? So in this integration, so we can see how this super global fault catch the errors. Okay, we can see. So what we can do, I'm going to calculate a result, right? So click on here. Let me see. Let me drag and drop the assign activity, assign variable. Okay, I'm going to create a where result. Okay, let me put this double string. Okay, validate and close. So validate and close. Okay, let me take one more assign activity. Okay, here assign for division. Assign for division. Here we can write the logic. We can select the our variable name where underscore result. Okay, so we can perform the number 1 by number 2. So for that we can use the divide function. Search with the divide, select the divide here. Okay, your parameter 1 is the your number 1. Okay, your parameter 2 is the number 2. Okay, I'm going to convert in the number format. So let me use the number function. So if you don't know this function name, you can go here, search with the number. Okay, okay, search with the number and you can drag and drop here. Okay, you can see the number format here. So this is the number format and you can drag and drop this number format here. Okay, so let me validate this and close. Okay, validate and close. So let me map this source and target values. Let me click on the response wrapper and request wrapper. Okay, so we already calculated our result here. Let me map to the result. Okay, and your status is success. Create target node. Okay, you can put the success here. Validate and close. So our integration is ready and now we have to enable the tracking variables. Let me select this number 1. save, okay, close. So now let me activate this integration. So let me run this integration. Click on test. Click on body. Okay, we have a number 2 and number 1. Let me run this. Let me test this. So we got the 0.5 and success, right? Let me put the number 2 is the 0. Let's see what is going to happen. So you can see the error, right? By default that integration cache the exceptions, right? So this is the global fault handler. So in this example, so we need a proper error message. This is system automatically generate this global level fault handler. So whenever you are not handling any error validation programmatically, automatically your global fault handler will take care the predefined exception, right? So in that way what we can do, we can programmatically we can define the our user defined exception, right? Now I'm going to make some changes on existing integration to enable the user defined error response, right? So whenever you're working any real-time integration, if you want to make any customizations on the existing integration, take a cloned copy and then start making the changes. So let me take the clone of this integration. Click on clone. So give the same name and change your version name. I'm going to change the minor version. Okay, click on, okay, and let me start doing the changes. Click on edit button. This is our new version. So let me remove this assign function, delete. Now I'm going to write the user defined exception, that is default exception, right? So we need to use the scope activity, right? So basically scope activity is a collection of child actions and invokes that can have their own fault handlers, right? Here you can write n number of scope activities based on your requirements. So in our example, let me take the scope activity here, right? So the moment you take the scope activity, it asks for the name, give the name, scope calculation, click and create. Okay, so you can see the fault handler here, right? Let me save this integration. So let me go to the assign variables. We already declare a where result. Now we are going to declare one more variable, where underscore result. Where underscore status. Basically, initially the status is success. In case of any validation fails, we have to make the status as error as per our requirement. Alright. So to achieve that functionality, I have declared a variable where underscore status. So let me assign the default status to success. Alright. Success. Okay. Validate and close. Okay. Validate and close. So now I'm going to write that divide function here, right? If you want to perform any calculation, so you have to take the assign activity. Click on here and click on assign activity. Okay, assign variables. Click on create. Assign calculation one. You can give any name. Okay, click on plus symbol. Okay, here we are going to calculate the result, where result. Sorry, let me remove this again. Create a new variable once again, where underscore result. Click on the expression builder. Now you have to write the function, right? You know the divide function, right? Divide. Select this, drag and drop the divide function. Your P1 is the just convert it to the number format. take the number 1. Here also you can take the number format. We are converting the number format. Take the number 2. Okay, validate and close. Validate and close. So in case of any errors occurs while calculating this function, right? We are using the divide function, right? In case of any errors occurs, so what we can do, you can click on this fault handler. Once you click on the fault handler, you can see the default handler, right? You can click on the default handler. Now you have to change the status, right? Now what I can do, let me take the assign activity, assign, I'm going to give the name assign exception. Okay, click on here. So in case of any exception occurs, so what I can do, your result will be 0. Okay, I'm making the value as 0. Okay, validate and close. Close. Click on plus, and now I'm going to select the status. So this time I'm changing some user defined name, right? Error generated. Okay, this is the custom error message which we are giving, which we are sending as a response. Close. Right, validate, close. Whenever any error occurs, it will come to your default handler. It will catch the exception, our user defined exception. If you want to go, if you want to come to your main flow, just click on here. You can see here, right? So let me go to the your source and target mapping. Click on here. Let me see the mapping once again. So now this time we have to change the status. So programmatically we are assigning the status, right? Let me change the status. We already have a variable var underscore status. Validate. Close. Let me reset this flow. Okay. So our integration is ready. Save and close. Now we are going to activate the integration. Click on this button. Activate. Integration activated. Let me run the integration. So this time we have given number 2 is a 0. Right. So number 1 by number 2, 8 by 0 is infinity value. Right. So that at this time we are expecting a user defined error message. Right. Let me run this integration. So you can see this error generated. Result is 0. That means this integration failed here. It will come to, right, exception black. Right. Let me change this 10. Test it. Success. If you give 90, 0. Test. So this is the user defined exception. So this is the how we are going to raise the exceptions in the default exception handler. Okay. So let me revise the session. Basic error handling in OIC. We can raise errors 2 levels. First one is the global level fault handler. This is the super catch black. And second one is the default fault handler. We can raise these kind of errors at the scope level, right? So now let's understand what is the scope activity. So the scope action is essentially a collection of child actions and invokes that can have their own fault handlers. For example, within the scope, when you are trying to call any database services, ATP database services, right? In case of your database service is down, we can catch the errors through the your fault handler. All right. So next one is default fault handler. Default fault handler we can handle in the scope level. All right. So default handler is also generated for every scope, which acts as a catch-all black for the scope. All right. So within the flow we can create a n number of scope activities. Okay, so this is all about exceptions. Thank you for watching this video.